Hi, welcome to Lil Unfiltered. I am a retired slow traveler and I'm currently in North Macedonia. I may be seeking residency in another country in the future. I haven't decided which country. I need to travel a little bit further, but thinking about that raised some questions. And so I did some research and I made some notes, and I'm going to share that with you. I hope this video will be helpful to you as it was for me. And, if you have any comments or questions at the end, or you'd like me to delve further after I've done this video, I am planning to turn this into a series. So I will be talking about more things, but please leave your suggestions below. And also, I need to inform you that this is not meant as legal or tax advice. I just looked some things up, made some notes, and I'm going to share that. You will need to consult a professional if you're thinking about, moving abroad and you need some help with that. So we'll just call this part 2 because I did a video before this one. You can check that one out also. Let's get into it. Most Americans who move abroad, you think about getting visas, you think about housing, learning the new language. But here's the truth. The hardest part may actually be laws that you've never heard of. Laws that follow you wherever you go. In my last video, I broke down FATCA and FBAR, and you can watch that to learn more about that. Those are hidden reporting rules that force Americans abroad to file on their foreign bank accounts. And I didn't know about that previously. So let's see. But here's the thing. That's just the beginning. So there are other U.S. laws that expats need to know about. And with Trump back in power, some of those laws are shifting right now. He calls it the Big Beautiful Bill. And let me tell you, it's full of changes that could either help you or trip you up if you don't know what's coming. So part 1 is the double tax trap. And first, let's talk about something every American abroad eventually bumps into, and that is double taxation. Most countries tax you if you live there. Pretty simple. But the US taxes you no matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you've lived there for 20 years. So what's in place to prevent you from being taxed twice? There are 3 main tools. The foreign earned income exclusion, which lets you exclude about $130,000 of foreign earned income in 2025. The foreign housing exclusion, excuse me. The foreign housing exclusion, which lets you deduct some of your housing costs abroad. And the foreign tax credit, which gives you credit for taxes you already paid to your host country. Sounds good, right? Except here's the catch. It's complicated. One wrong form, one missed requirement, and you're on the hook. Trump's team has proposed increasing these exclusions. Good news on paper, of course, but ask yourself this. Do you trust a system that gives with one hand and takes with the other? Because the rules that decide who qualifies are still strict and the paperwork doesn't go away. Part 2, residence-based taxation, the dream bill. There's been talk for years about switching from citizenship-based taxation to residence-based taxation. That would mean if you live abroad, you'd only pay U.S. taxes on U.S. income, just like every other country does. In late 2024, a bill called the Residence-Based Taxation for Americans Abroad Act was introduced. If it passed, it would change everything. Stay tuned because I'm going to talk about this more in detail at the end. But here's the problem. It hasn't passed. And even if it does, expect fine print. How many years do you have to live abroad before you qualify? Do you have to give up certain benefits? Will there still be reporting requirements like FATCA? This is the kind of bill that sounds amazing in headlines, but leave loopholes that hurt the very people it's supposed to help. Part 3, Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. What's inside? Raising the foreign earned income exclusion, removing some taxes that hit Americans abroad, A proposed 1% tax on remittances, meaning if you move money from the US to another country, you could get taxed just for transferring your own money. Stricter definitions on what counts as a foreign tax, which could make it harder to claim credits. Some of these changes look helpful and some look dangerous. And remember, this is the same administration that ramps up penalties and enforcement when it needs revenue. And expats are easy targets. Part 4, the exit tax and renunciation. So what if you've had enough and you just say, I'll renounce my US citizenship? Here's what you face. The fee alone at this time is $2,350. You must be fully tax compliant for the past 5 years. If you missed FBAR or FATCA filings, and watch my previous video if you want to know more about those, you will have to fix them first, and that gets expensive. Can get expensive. And if your net worth is above $2 million or you've had high tax bills, you may face an exit tax. And that's basically the US pretending you sold everything you owned the day before you renounce and taxing you on it. It's brutal, and it's designed to make leaving as painful as possible. Part 5, real stories. So let me give you some examples of what's happening to some Americans abroad. A teacher in Germany who didn't know about FBAR got hit with a $40,000 penalty for 2 accounts totaling less than $20,000. A retiree in Mexico tried to renounce but couldn't afford to become tax compliant first. The accountant fees alone were thousands. Families abroad who used to claim the child tax credit are losing it because the new rules demand Social Security numbers and US residence requirements their kids can't meet. And these aren't hedge fund billionaires. These are everyday Americans who thought moving abroad would mean freedom and a fresh start. So part 6, what you need to watch right now. Watch the Residence-Based Taxation Act. If it passes, it could change your life. And as I said, I'll talk about that after I finish here. Excuse me. Watch Trump's big, beautiful bill. Some parts may help and others may squeeze you. Watch for stricter enforcement of FBAR and FATCA because the IRS is broke and penalties are their cash flow. Watch state-level tax laws. Even if you leave, some states like California or New York may still claim you owe them unless you fully cut ties. So the bottom line, ignorance isn't an excuse in the eyes of the US government. And when it comes to expat laws, ignorance can cost you everything. Here's the unfiltered truth. Moving abroad doesn't free you from the United States. You carry that passport like a leash. And Trump's changes may add some slack in the rope, or they may pull it tighter. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. If you want to live abroad, you absolutely can. But you have to know the laws, the traps, and the costs before you pack your bags. Because once you're out there, the last thing you want is a letter from the IRS reminding you that no matter where you go, Uncle Sam is watching. And that's the side of expat life nobody is talking about. Now, a lot of you are going to ask, okay, what exactly is this Residence-Based Taxation Act? Because I wanted to know. Who wrote it? Where does it stand? And what does it really do? So let's go deeper because this is the bill everyone's talking about. And it could change life for Americans abroad in a huge way. So what the bill is and who wrote it. In December 2024, Congressman Darren LaHood, I'll say, hope I pronounced that right, a Republican from Illinois, introduced H.R. 10468, the Residence-Based Taxation for Americans Abroad Act. Some people just call it the LaHood bill. Right now, it's sitting in the House Ways and Means Committee. As of today, it hasn't passed, but it's on the table. And with Trump pushing tax reform, this bill could get folded into a bigger package. What it would actually do, here's the heart of it. If you're a US citizen living abroad, you could elect to be treated as a non-resident for tax purposes. That means no more US tax on your foreign source income, your salary abroad, your rental in Spain, your dividends from a French company. You'd still owe US tax on US source income, like your pension from an American company, dividends from US stocks, or rent from property that you own in the US. Sounds simple, but here's the fine print. To qualify, you'd have to prove you're a tax resident of another country, be fully tax compliant with the US for the past 5 years, as I said previously. So if you miss FBARs or FATCA forms, you'd have to fix that first. Once you elect, and the fines are huge, look at my previous video. Once you elect, you'd have to stay abroad for at least 3 years. If you come back too soon, the IRS can undo your election, even retroactively. And for wealthier Americans, there's a sting, a possible departure tax, a deemed sale of your assets, as I said earlier, be the day before you elect. So you could be taxed on unrealized gains, even if you didn't actually sell anything. They do carve out some exceptions, like your main home abroad, but not everything is protected. What it could change. If this passes, here's what it means for everyday expats like us. No more paying US tax on foreign salary, pensions, or small investments abroad. Possibly fewer reporting requirements. You might not need to file FATCA or FBAR if you elect into this system. Banks abroad may stop treating us like financial poison. It's very hard to get an account in another country. Because under this bill, you could get a certificate proving you're a non-resident for US tax purposes. But here's the catch. US source income is still taxable. Your American rental property, your IRA withdrawals, your dividends from Apple stock, all still taxed. Estate and gift taxes don't go away. The US could still grab a piece of your inheritance or your estate. And if you can't prove you've been fully compliant for 5 years, you don't qualify. That's the IRS's way of keeping the leash tight. Where it stands politically. Right now, the bill hasn't gone anywhere, but Trump and Republicans have been talking loudly about ending double taxation of expats. Groups like American Citizens Abroad are lobbying hard, but remember, this isn't guaranteed. Congress might gut it, water it down, or bury it, or they might tack it onto a bigger tax reform package. The bottom line, the dream of residence-based taxation is closer than it's ever been, but until this bill passes, we're still stuck with citizenship-based taxation. So that's the Residence-Based Taxation Act. It could mean freedom for millions of Americans abroad. But right now, it's just a proposal. And proposals don't pay your bills. Which means for now, you still have to deal with FATCA, FBAR, and the current tax system until Washington decides otherwise. I hope this video was informative. If you have any questions, as I said earlier, or want me to dive further, please let me know. And I have more coming because I have more questions. There's more laws to talk about, and I'm curious about Social Security, Medicare, certain things like that while living abroad. So I'll talk about that in further videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.